I lost myself to find the truth. The first three stages of the dark night. I want you to imagine waking up one day and realizing that everything you've built, your beliefs, your identity, your plans, your sense of purpose, feels hollow. Not broken, just empty. It's not dramatic. It's not even visible to others. But inside you, something is beginning to tremble. At first, you try to ignore it. You keep going to work. You keep smiling. You keep scrolling and liking and pretending. But then, in the quiet moments, the ones no one sees, you begin to feel it. A strange and powerful disconnection starts to form between who you are on the surface and who you are deep inside. That is the beginning of the first stage, the collapse. It's not a breakdown in the way we normally understand it. It's not panic or chaos. It's more like the quiet implosion of everything you thought was you. And the scariest part, no one else seems to notice it's happening. The collapse is the soul's subtle rebellion against the false self. You start to question things you never dared to question before. Why am I chasing this career? Do I actually believe in what I say I believe? Why do I always feel like I'm performing? These aren't casual thoughts. These are spiritual earthquakes. And as they grow louder, you begin to sense that your old life, the life built on autopilot, on expectations, on inherited beliefs, is no longer sustainable. You may feel guilt, confusion, even shame. But underneath all that, there's something sacred taking place. The soul is waking up, and like any being waking from a deep sleep, it stretches painfully. The world around you doesn't change right away, but your perception begins to. You start seeing the cracks in everything. The collapse isn't about destruction, it's about revelation. Then comes the second stage, the fall. This is where the bottom drops out. You can no longer pretend. The masks you wore, the achiever, the pleaser, the spiritual seeker, the rebel, begin to fall away. And it hurts. It really, really hurts. Because those masks weren't just roles. They were your protection. When they fall, you feel naked in a way that's deeper than physical. You feel existentially exposed. You may experience depression, anxiety, or a profound sense of being lost. But what's really happening is that your soul is detaching from the illusion of control. It's terrifying. You feel like you're free falling through your own consciousness. But here's the truth. The fall is necessary. You have to fall to learn how to let go. You have to let go of certainty, of identity, of the ego's addiction to being right. And in that surrender, you begin to taste something new, something ancient, a deeper intelligence that doesn't speak in words, but in silence. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to not be anything, and yet still exist? That question leads us to the third stage, the death of identity. This is not metaphorical. It's a real death, and it's brutal. You start to realize that who you thought you were, your name, your story, your personality, is a construct. You see how you've been editing yourself for others, shaping yourself to fit in, to be loved, to feel important. And now, none of it works. You don't know who you are anymore. And while part of you wants to rebuild, the deeper part of you knows. This death is sacred. This is the ego's funeral. And it's the first real step toward awakening. But be warned, this stage is lonely. Not because you're physically alone, but because no one can walk this part for you. You're peeling away layers that have taken a lifetime to build. You're grieving a self that was never real. You may feel like you're disappearing, But what's actually happening is the birth of your true essence, raw, formless, free. And now I want to ask you something, not casually, but from one soul to another. Who would you be if you let go of everything you were taught to be? Sit with that. Let it disturb you. Because if you're brave enough to face the answer, if you're still here listening, then you're not just watching a video. You're answering a call. The dark spiritual awakening is not a punishment. It's an initiation. And the first three stages, the collapse, the fall, and the death of identity, are not the end. They're the sacred beginning. The fire has only just started, and in the next part, we dive even deeper, into the void, into the silence, into the parts of the self most people never dare to face. Are you ready to go further? Through the void, embracing the silence that destroys and heals. So you've passed through the initial fire. The collapse has stripped your illusions. The fall has shattered your certainty. And the death of identity has left you standing in the ashes of who you once were. Now you enter the fourth stage, the void. This is where most people turn back. This is the desert of the soul, the long night with no stars, the part of the journey that doesn't care about your spiritual quotes or vision boards. Nothing works here. There are no tools left, no teachings to hold on to. You try to pray, and your words echo back empty. You try to meditate, and all you feel is numbness. You try to feel something, anything, but it's like your soul has gone into hiding. And that's exactly what's happening. The void is not a place of punishment. It's a place of purification. It's where the soul goes to remember what it truly is, beyond identity, beyond story, beyond even belief. In the void, time breaks down. Some days feel like minutes. Some minutes feel like lifetimes. You may feel like you're floating in nothingness, like your life has become weightless, directionless, meaningless. But here's the paradox. This emptiness is sacred. It's not the absence of truth. It's the space where truth will be revealed. But only after you've proven you can sit in silence without demanding meaning. This is the stage of spiritual starvation. Your ego is starving for answers, for validation, for purpose, but none is coming. And in that starvation, something incredible begins. The ego starts to die for real, not just symbolically, not just intellectually, but spiritually. And in its place, a new awareness starts to flicker. It's quiet, it's still, but it's real. It doesn't shout. It doesn't sell. It just is. And for the first time, you start to feel it, the presence beneath the personality. Then comes the fifth stage, the mirror of shadows. This is where the void begins to reflect. And what it shows you is everything you've hidden from yourself, every suppressed emotion, every lie you told to survive, every wound you refuse to feel. It all comes up now. Your trauma doesn't just surface. It stares you in the face, and not as something to fix, but as something to witness. This is shadow work in its rawest form. You aren't just reading about your wounds in a self-help book. You're feeling them in your bones. You're reliving the betrayals, the shame, the rage, the abandonment. Everything you tried to bury now rises like ghosts. And here's the truth. Most people are not ready for this stage. They run. They spiritualize. They bypass. But if you stay, if you dare to look at your darkest parts with eyes of compassion, you begin to reclaim your power. Because every shadow you face is a piece of your soul waiting to come home. This part of the journey is terrifying because it asks you to stop being a seeker and become a witness. It asks you to stop performing healing and actually feel the wounds, not fix them, not transcend them, just feel them fully. And this is where real transformation begins, because emotions are not weaknesses, they are sacred messengers. Your grief is holy. Your anger is a sword. Your fear is a compass. Every feeling you've disowned is a key to the parts of your soul you lost along the way. And when you stop trying to be spiritual and start being real, you begin to embody your truth. Not the truth someone taught you, not the truth you read in a book, but the truth that emerges from the marrow of your being. And that truth is not clean, it's not pretty, but it's yours, and it's powerful. This is the stage where you begin to understand the difference between spiritual performance and spiritual embodiment. You start to see how much of your old path was about escaping pain instead of integrating it. You begin to realize that the real awakening is not about feeling bliss. It's about becoming whole. And wholeness includes the parts of you that cry at 2 a.m., the parts that doubt, the parts that once hated yourself, the parts that wanted to give up. You don't transcend those parts. You invite them in. You put a chair at the table for your pain. And in doing so, you become something the ego could never imagine: authentic, not perfect, not enlightened, but real. And in a world addicted to illusion, being real is the most radical act of all. And now I ask you a question that may shape the rest of your life. Can you love the parts of yourself you were taught to hate? Not fix them, not hide them, but love them fully, without condition. Because if you can, you unlock the door to the next stage. A stage where the darkness no longer feels like a curse, but a crucible. Where your shadows no longer haunt you, they guide you. And where the void, once terrifying, becomes the womb of your rebirth. In the next part, we explore that rebirth. We'll walk through the fire of realization into the final stages of the dark awakening, where silence becomes wisdom and pain becomes purpose. But remember this before we continue: the void doesn't leave you empty, it leaves you clear. The sacred fire rising from the ashes of the self. If you've come this far, you're not just a seeker anymore, you're something else entirely. You've walked through the death of illusions, sat in the silence of the void, stared into the eyes of your shadows, and now something ancient stirs within you. You may not fully understand what's happening yet, but you feel it. The stirring of a deeper fire. This fire doesn't burn like the ego's fire. It doesn't consume to destroy, it consumes to purify. This is the sixth stage, the sacred fire of realization. It begins subtly. You start to feel moments of clarity piercing the fog. You feel a strange peace, even in the middle of chaos. Not because everything is okay, but because you're no longer resisting what is. That's the key. You've stopped fighting life. And in that surrender, something miraculous happens. You begin to see. What you see is not always beautiful, but it's real. You begin to perceive the world differently. You notice the masks people wear, not with judgment, but with compassion, because you wore them too. You start to feel connected to people, to nature, to life, not in a conceptual way, but viscerally. You might walk past a stranger and feel their pain. You might sit under a tree and feel it speak to you, not in words, but in presence. You begin to realize that everything is alive, everything is speaking, and everything is reflecting you. This is not poetic metaphor. This is direct experience. The sacred fire burns away separation. It shows you that everything you were searching for outside was always inside, and everything inside is mirrored outside. This realization isn't just enlightening, it's humbling, because now you can't lie to yourself anymore. Every thought, every action, every relationship becomes a mirror, and the fire makes sure you see it all. And this is where you begin to live differently, not because someone told you to, but because your old way of being is no longer possible. You can't betray your truth anymore. Lying, manipulating, pretending, it physically hurts now. Your soul has become too attuned to tolerate anything out of alignment, and so you begin to simplify. You let go of people who don't see you. You walk away from environments that drain you. You say no to what once seduced you. This isn't about becoming a saint. This is about becoming honest. You're not trying to be good. You're striving to be real. And that authenticity becomes your compass. You stop chasing goals that don't nourish your soul. You stop trying to impress people who don't even know themselves. You begin to live from within. And this is the real beginning of spiritual power, not control, but coherence. The sacred fire doesn't just burn away what you're not, it ignites what you are. You start to feel a calling, not from outside, but from the very center of your being. It doesn't always come with clarity or words. Sometimes it's just a pull, a knowing. A gravitational force drawing you toward your purpose. You may not know what to do yet, but you can no longer pretend you don't feel it. And that brings us to the final stage, the return. This is the moment when you come back into the world, not as who you were, but as who you've become. And it's not a grand return. There's no parade, no announcement, just presence, quiet, rooted and unwavering presence. You walk through the same world, but you're no longer of it. You're not above it either. You're in it, fully, but with new eyes, new breath, new depth. The return is the most misunderstood part of spiritual awakening. People think it's the end, but it's really the beginning. It's where the inner transformation meets outer expression. It's where you bring the wisdom of the void, the tenderness of your shadows, and the fire of your truth into your everyday life. You don't need to preach. You don't need to prove anything. You simply embody. You become the frequency of truth. And people feel it, even if they don't understand it. Some will be drawn to you. Others will be repelled. That's okay. You're not here to be liked. You're here to shine. And that light, your light, will activate others, not by force, but by resonance. You begin to realize that the purpose of the dark awakening was never to escape the world. It was to prepare you to serve it, not as a savior, but as a mirror, a reminder, a living example of what's possible when someone has the courage to die to who they were in order to become who they are. You don't need to convince anyone. Your presence does the speaking. Your integrity becomes your message. Your joy, yes, joy, becomes sacred again. Because now it's not performative. It's not a mask. It's a byproduct of being aligned. You can laugh again. You can cry without shame. You can say, I don't know, and feel no less whole. That is freedom. And so the cycle completes. Not in a perfect circle, but in a spiral. Because awakening is not linear. You'll revisit the void. You'll meet new shadows. You'll burn again. But now you don't fear it. Because you know what's on the other side. You know that every death is a doorway. Every silence is a teaching. Every pain is a portal. And this knowing changes you forever. You become unshakable, not because nothing affects you, but because everything deepens you. You don't avoid life anymore. You enter it fully, vulnerably, courageously. And that is what it means to be awake. I want to leave you with one final question, not to answer right now, but to carry with you like a seed. What would your life look like if you stopped trying to become someone and simply remembered who you already are? Don't just think about that. Feel it. Let it live in your chest. Let it rise in your breath. Because the truth is, the real awakening isn't about becoming enlightened. It's about becoming intimate with existence. Every part of it, the dark, the light, the fire, the silence, the self, all of it. And when you stop running from any of it, life stops running from you. It meets you, fully, fiercely, freely. But what happens after the return? That's the question almost no one asks. We love stories that end with transformation, with the hero standing tall after the storm. But real spiritual awakening doesn't end. It integrates. And this is where the deepest work begins. You find yourself back in the world, surrounded by the ordinary, and yet you are now anything but ordinary. There's a strange discomfort in this space. You no longer fit into the systems, the conversations, the energies that once defined your world. You may find yourself in a room full of people and feel alone, not out of pain, but out of clarity. Because now you can see the unconscious patterns behind every word, every gesture. You feel the unspoken grief in others. You sense the masks they still wear. And you realize, not with arrogance, but with compassion, just how asleep the world really is. This clarity is a gift, but it's also a responsibility. Because now you're tasked with living in two worlds at once, the world of form, structure, society, and the world of essence, truth, and spirit. You become a bridge. And being a bridge is not easy. It means being misunderstood. It means holding space for people's projections. It means loving without needing to be liked. And most of all, it means walking the talk when no one is watching. This is the spiritual warrior's path, not in the dramatic, mystical sense, but in the deeply human, grounded reality of daily life. Can you listen without judging? Can you speak truth without defending? Can you remain open when everything in you wants to close? These questions become your daily practice, not to perform, but to embody. Because real awakening is not proven by your words or your rituals. It's shown in your presence. You begin to realize that everything you once sought outside, validation, love, peace, power, has always been within you. And yet, this realization doesn't make you superior. It humbles you. Because now you see that everyone, even the ones who hurt you, is on their own sacred path. Some are just at earlier stages. Some are still collapsing. Some are still performing. Some are lost in the shadows. But you see them now, not as threats, not as obstacles, but as reflections. And your heart opens in a way you never thought possible. You don't just know we are connected, you feel it. Even when it's messy, even when it's painful. You stop needing to change others. You simply love them where they are. And sometimes the most powerful act of love is letting people walk their own path without interference. But here's the deeper secret. Even after all this, there will be days where you forget. Days when the old self tries to resurrect. Days when your fears return, your doubts creep in, your ego whispers seductive lies. This doesn't mean you failed. This means you're alive. Awakening is not a permanent high. It's a conscious commitment to remember again and again who you truly are. And over time, the forgetting becomes shorter, the remembering becomes faster, the falling becomes softer. You no longer fear the descent because you've made peace with the cycle. You understand that even your darkness is sacred. Even your confusion is part of the curriculum. And that realization that nothing is wasted becomes your greatest source of peace. Eventually, you stop identifying as awakened. Even that label becomes too small. You're not trying to be spiritual anymore. You're just trying to be real. And in that rawness, you become magnetic, not because you're trying to teach or lead, but because your very presence reminds others of something they forgot within themselves. You don't need to preach. Your stillness speaks. Your laughter heals. Your honesty disrupts. Your compassion disarms. You become a living transmission of truth, not because you're perfect, but because you're present. And that presence is what the world is starving for. Not more gurus, not more knowledge, but more embodied soulfulness. More people willing to show up, fall apart, rise again, and tell the truth about all of it. So this is what it means to walk the 7 stages of dark spiritual awakening. It's not a trend. It's not a phase. It's a sacred dismantling of the false self and a rebirth into the mystery of life. It will shake you. It will strip you. It will burn everything that isn't real. But what remains, what always remains, is love. Not the romanticized version, not the conditional kind, but the pure, nameless, formless presence that holds this entire universe together. And that love is what you are. It's what you've always been. And now finally you remember.